Abhijit. We welcome you on screen. Can you hear
Hi,
us?
Nandini. Thanks a
Hi.
lot. Good afternoon. I
Hi.
can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me as well?
Yes, absolutely clear. And thank you all our other panelists who are here physically joining us. And we've heard the whole day about the trends and everything that is happening in the restaurant, but what is happening at the back end, the supply chain, the tech that is making it a little less food wastage? So let's talk about that. Abhijit, should we start with you? Can you
Sure,
hear us?
Nandini.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. Anything in particular you want to hear about it?
Yeah. So tell us how are you leveraging the unified commerce platform?
Right, great. So first of all, I'll introduce what we are doing, Nandini, and then thank you for having me online, and sincere apologies for the last minute travels that I couldn't make it there. So it's a great panel up there. So who we are, right? So we are India's first tech-enabled grab and go coffee chain. We're the first company bringing the best of Indian coffees at one-third the market price, is that great coffee can become a daily lifestyle product than just remaining as a luxury experiential product. Right. So in us, there are three things that matters a lot, and this is where the unified commerce and the panel topic matches really well. Number one is leveraging all channels of revenue, right? So which means right from e-commerce, which includes the merchandise sales, to aggregators, which becomes delivery sales, three to walk-in sales, which we have leveraged through application-based tech-enabled takeaway application-based process, right? So what we have done is so that's number one, right? The second thing is supply chain, which I think we'll talk later in the panel discussion. And number three is tying the supply chain with the consumer end and tying that with distribution, which is logistics. Because we face that challenge of having small units across the city or across the country, and then it needs to be optimized using technology such that the distribution looks more of like an FMCG in the back end than like a F&B, considering the space constraints we have in the front end. So what we have done is, Nandini, here is what we have combined all of these factors together through one particular technology solution at the outlet, right? So at the outlet, for my barista partner, doesn't matter it's an aggregator, doesn't matter it's an app, or it's coming to a website. They all combine together at one channel, so that for the person serving at the outlet, it's the same thing, which is a customer or a guest right in front of them, and then XYZ stuff or the processes that needs to go through to make the product ready, right? So and the they simplified what we have done is we have added all the three elements that I talked to you in a solution and tied it together, so that for the barista partner and for the guest, doesn't matter if sitting at home, in office, or walking at the store, it's the same experience across all three channels.
Fantastic. So over to you, Shrey. Tell us how are you leveraging technology at this age where we are only speeding ahead? Everything is about speed. So how are your customers sitting at home and getting the best possible experience?
Uh, First of all, thank you for having me. And at Burgrill, we have understood something that we have to coexist with the third-party aggregators that we have from Zomato, Swiggy, and with DotPay and other so many other platforms. So the only way that we have actually come up with speed with these guys is by having maybe start with basics and you break this question into three parts. First being having a better flow in the kitchen, making sure that any person who's actually working is not moving anything other than 2 to 3 feet, and making sure that he's not crushing into each other while they are working together. So I think that's the basic, and that's the most important one. And then we are also doing automated machineries, so making it idiot proof for people who are working at Burgrill, making sure that these guys are using the least amount of brains to actually churn out a product. So it's just like you put the fries in the basket and you press a button, it goes down, it comes up on its own. So that's automation. And the third being is creating a lot of checkpoints. So recently what we have done is we were losing a lot of there were a lot of missing items with the deliveries that we were doing. So we've just started a new thing wherein we have created stickers which have QR codes, and you can just scan those QR codes, and it would all automatically mark the mug food ready, which is a compliance of Zomato Swiggy. So these are few things that we're doing. And lastly, with the customer service that we always look at is providing consistent food again and again. That's the only thing that we do to make sure that our customers go happy.
Fantastic. And I wanted to ask here, are you almost printing the food?
No, we are not printing the food, though we are printing the labels so that the QR code tells us that this is done and this is not done.
Lovely. So, yeah, Mohit, tell us, how are you using technology in the kitchen and the back-end kitchen to make it everything more efficient, and you can also give out the taste, consistent taste for every food that you're catering to?
Hi. So thank you for having us here. So in the kitchen, as he mentioned, we work on a lot of machinery. So to automate the processes in the kitchen, we have certain companies that we work with so that we can increase the quality of the product, but also reduce the cooking time so that the same chef has to work for a less amount of time on the range, but he's able to give out the same quality. He's able to give out the same consistency every day. I have a small different take on this that I think we just talked about it, that technology only goes so far in terms of creating consistency. It can create efficiency for sure, but it can never improve the taste. It can never improve the consistency of the product. It can fasten the process for sure. And it is a very thin line between having a consistent product and being extremely efficient. So a lot of other things that we do in terms of technology is that we use a lot of it in training. So there's a big churn in hospitality, especially in restaurants and QSRs. So we use a lot of training apps that we create a lot of content for our employees. So once they come in, they don't have to go to the central kitchen for, say, a 3-month training period. They straight away go to the outlet and then they just undertake those trainings for 3 months. They have to go through trainings in SOPs, recipes, finishing recipes, etc. And that really increases the efficiency and reduces the cost for us in terms of training and hiring also. But because it's a very people-oriented thing, you have to be very careful what kind of technology and what kind of machineries are you putting into your kitchen. Because if your product is hampered even by a slight bit, just because you want to make the food faster, but it hampers the experience of the guest, then you have to take a step back. But there is a lot of technology out there now that helps you to cater to your needs, so they can work with you closely. But now that we are a very premium brand, high AOV brand, so we try and put in technology only to an extent that it does not taper with the product and the quality of the product.
Lovely. So, Amit, you are from the technological side. Tell us, how is the restaurant industry adapting these seamless transitions from online to offline so that the consumer is getting the consistent product everywhere?
I thank you very much for inviting me here. I think there are a couple of things that needs to be done, starting with implementing an omni-channel strategy. Because if you see, there are many touch points that we have within the operation, starting from ordering the food till we get the food, from mobile to website to the point of sale system that are installed in the restaurants. There is a disconnect over there. The promotions that you see online are different than the promotions which are given to the guests when they come in for dine-in restaurants. So I think there has to be some parity around there. And if we can connect all these systems together, and if we can have a price parity and can get same kind of offers for dine-in, it can definitely help connect the systems together, and restaurants can benefit having guests over to their restaurants instead of ordering food online. The second thing that I would like to highlight is that there's a personalization of guest data that is available from online channels, right? Every time I place an order, they know where I'm staying, what my number is. And when I walk into the restaurant to dine in, there's again a data can be collected. Now this data is lying down in a silo formats right now, which I think should be consolidated together, and we can really leverage the data. That's it from my side.
Okay. So you are saying that the data is what is going to help this seamless transition. Okay. So Abhijit, over to you. You spoke a lot about the unified commerce that you're using. Now, how are you using technology to make your online and offline customer have the same experience? It's the same question that I asked Amit, but I want to know from a restaurant point of view, from a coffee on the go, what is your take on it? How are you doing it?
Right, Nandini. No, fantastic. So let me try to answer this in two pieces, right? So piece one is the product needs to remain the same. The experience changes with the condition where consumer is consuming the product, right? And that's the approach we have taken, right? When a consumer for us walks into our store, the thing that we promise to them is great coffee, quality, consistent, and then fast service, right? Because we're a grab and go coffee chain, right? Now, when it comes to consumer sitting at their homes, it's a different proposition. They want the same product, so which means we solve for how the product consistency and the quality does not deteriorate. The simplest of the means, for example, with beverage or like coffee, the milk, the frothed milk actually fades out over a period of time just by the law of physics, right? So what we do is how do we pack it? How do we make sure that the temperature variation needs to happen when it's goes on home delivery? That when the consumer opens up, A, it's not leaking. B, it somehow touches the five senses. C, it does not become too complicated for the consumer to remove the foil and put on the can. Right? So the experience expectation on both sides is different. So the way we have solved this, Nandini, is just breaking it out into two pieces, knowing that there is one thing that needs to be true, and that is the product. Right? And how we solve the product in takeaway is different. So for takeaway, my consumer gives me less than 1.5 minutes from the order to the coffee cup in their hands, right? And what we have done for that is the app that we just launched last month, right? It's one of its first of its kind app in the country, where you can actually order on the app in less than 10 seconds if you order the same app, if you order the same item on the app, right? So it makes it seamless. And the barista partner, instead of taking an order, is doing what he or she is skilled for, which is making the coffee, right? And on the other hand, when it comes to, and I think other panel members were describing it really well, that when it comes to home consumption, the way you solve for that is making sure that there are no errors in the order that reaches to the consumer. And that's the biggest delight, if there are no errors and the same product that they expect reaches to them. And how you delight them is with several other factors. So what we've done for home delivery is, for example, our barista partners, that is a culture that is built in our coffee. They make personal messages on the cup, right? And every single cup comes with a reinforced message. Plus, the lid also have affirmative messages. Now, these are highly customized. And we do it before the order is prepared, right? So it's all stacked up. Now, this actually adds the delight factor that I was talking about when a consumer is consuming in the home. But when it comes to outlet, it's the smile of the barista partner, it's the reception and the greeting. Now, this is the two ways how we look at the same problem, considering the environment changes. So that's our approach to solving this particular situation.
Lovely. But this is for all of you to ask that when we are doing the delivery, we are also sometimes, most of the times, dependent on the third party. So how do we ensure that at least that person, the third party, is bringing that product in the same delightful manner as you have packed it? How are you, approaching that challenge? And this is for all of you.
Talking about delivery is another ball game altogether. It's not as simple as delivering. When the customer is there, even the product. No matter how much you say, a product which is served immediately versus a product which is delivered is 100% different. Yeah. But but since that's how it is, 60% of our business has gone online. So we have to find ways to make sure that operationally we are making it viable for our customers to enjoy the same burger that we have at the store, and that has to be delivered. So basically, our point is that once we need to get our tech strong to make sure that we handle this very, very beautifully. So, for example, I'll just give you, example that in our point of sale, we were facing a lot of issues of people ordering and then realizing that the product is out of stock. And that is an experience that nobody wants to have. So first you order, and then you take time to order, and then you call the delivery partner. Delivery partner says, sorry, available nahi hai. So how do you deal with it? So this is how we spoke to our tech partners, try to bring in few changes which has brought in a lot of effort for us. For example, in our POS, we have an option to toggle off any ingredient that we want to. So for example, my tomatoes are finished. So मेरी recipe में जहाँ पर भी tomatoes हैं, वो सारे products off हैं. So that is another thing that we did. Then also making sure that the inventory that we are doing is in a way that it is being forecasted so that nothing finishes before that. So that's our way of and things which are low in inventory to open up automatically or focus them auto Swiggy Pay. So these are few points that we make sure that we do. And secondly, again, as Mohit also mentioned, training is one thing. हमारे there are so many people are churning out from our restaurants QSRs. The only best way to actually handle this is consistent training, and training, making them train like you're training kids, training them in a simplest way possible. And training is one part. Once you teach them, then incentivize them. I think that is our go-to strategy when we make sure that once somebody's ordering online, we are giving the similar product every time. So that's our way. And secondly, we've also automated it through another software that we use for ORM, which is online reputation management, which is basically nothing but making sure that everything is coming. So we have 64 outlets across India. Reading all the comments every day, it becomes a challenge. So we have these a tech which actually answers back all the feedbacks, but also collates and gives us a rating about what is happening. And doing that, so for example, in one of the outlets, we are seeing consistently the ratings for a singular product or vegetarian products are going down. So the first thing that we do is we arrange another training for them. We make sure that we switch off for another 2 hours and make sure that the training is done. So it's a process. Training, incentivize, and then look for feedback and see if we need to go back into the training session.
Right. Perfect. And Mohit, what's your take on it?
So the question that you asked was about how how do you make sure that delivery partners are making sure that the food is of the right consistency when it gets delivered. So that is a very big challenge, and we are cloud only. We are only delivery. So the most important thing that we have worked on in the last 3 years of existence is on our packaging. So you have to work on your packaging on your behalf, making it very idiot proof. So even if someone who is doing a delivery for Swiggy or Zomato for the first time in his life, this is his first delivery ever, you have to think from that perspective, that this has no chance of spillage, this has no chance of falling down, this has no chance of, if the bag is a little deela in his hand, it will spill from this side or the other side. So with us, we have at least, especially with our curries, in Indian curries, there's a very high chance because they're very liquidy. So we have at least 3 to 4 levels of, packaging, so that at least खुलेगा नहीं. मतलब if one breaks, then the other will not. The second breaks, the third one will not. And then even with the bag is closed from the top, and we seal it with the small, the things that airports use it. Yeah, so we use that so that you cannot cut it, right? So, and we take a picture. We have a group with Zomato and Swiggy with their local managers, logistic managers, that we take pictures of all the orders that we send, so that it is a transparent thing with them also. And then whenever there is an issue that we feel that they were at fault, we always raise it with them, and they make sure that it is being addressed. Otherwise, direct deliveries, when we do it, it is more in our control. We have our riders that we can train them ourselves. They go through rigorous rounds of compliance and understanding and what needs to be done. Plus, because it happens in the kitchen itself, the person who's dispatching the order can also make them explain how they have to take it. Especially a lot of things are put in glass jars as well. So we do desserts in glass jars. So that becomes a little, it becomes sensitive, right? So these are the small things that you have to make sure. And I think working closely with delivery partners also goes a really, really long way. I think if you work with them on a very micro level, with the people that are taking care of your outlet in the local area, I think it really helps.
Lovely. Yeah. And Abhijit, your take on the third-party delivery?
See, third-party delivery is a factor of how the convenience that India has led to, right? So it's a part and parcel of the F&B industry of the country. In fact, what direction I am looking at is how food and beverage will adapt to the quick requirements of F&B for the consumers, because consumers are more and more convenience seeking, right? So that's a different transition that is happening. Couple of segments of the F&B will transition, and probably we will be one of those, because we lie naturally into quick consumption or the quick craving of beverages when it comes to. But having said that, on the aggregator piece of it, one thing that we have realized and we have learned it as well over the course is, and this goes back to 30 years of evolution of deliveries coming from not just India but outside India, and the likes of Domino's doing that in the US, and the way they picked it up, right? They have only learned from the entire evolution that has happened. Is making sure that our processes are not built for our processes, but our processes are meant for customers' expectations. And I think, as the panelist very rightly described, right? For example, the easiest of the way of QR code or how the packaging is sealed with multiple sealing statuses is what we have done as well. On the delivery boys or the delivery partners piece of thing, we have taken a different stance. Or let's say not a different stance, but we have taken a stance where, and this actually also happened, not something that we trained our partners, but partners initiated themselves, is every time our delivery partner comes into our flow, they walk out happy. Right. So I've observed several times that our partners ask the delivery partners, would you like to have water? Right. And this small thing has actually changed the way they pick up the orders. And there's several times when you do audits and when you go to the outlets without unannounced visits to the outlets, right? You visualize that most of the delivery partners take your bag and they're happy with it. Now that small difference because imagine what these guys are doing, right? In the Indian roads, going all across, it's tough, right? It's absolutely tough. How much as much we can say at restaurant chains, right? It's very difficult for those guys. So this small mood change actually inspires them more to make sure that the order reaches right. And while it's critical for entire F&B, it's more critical for a company like us because we are a beverage company. The chances of Prel and the chances of the leakage happen to is high. It's just a practical problem, and I think this has actually changed the mood of the transit in the process as well. There's one more thing that we have incorporated. This we did that within the first 6 months of our launch as well. Is every 6 months, it happened early on, but every 6 months we have our top leadership riding with the delivery boys. Right. And because we have also expanded very rapidly in the last 2 years, like we were one outlet 2 years back, we are 70 plus now. But over the period, what we've done is in order to learn how the routes go, we have also reduced the kilometers. So what we've done is we realized that a lot of consumer experiences changed within 3 kilometers, 5 kilometers, and 7 kilometers, right? And it depends not because kilometer in India, in my opinion, is not the right metric, but the traffic and kilometer, which is the time, that is the metric for your orders to reach, right? So we have capped different regions by different kilometers based on the time that it takes for the product to reach to the consumer. So this has helped incredibly well in terms of the right product reaching to the consumer in the right way or the right quality that we would want. Having said that, I think it was also pointed out, it's impossible for the same product to reach. But that same product being the expectation of the consumer also changes slightly because they know that the coffee will not be 85 degrees Celsius as compared to takeaway. It would be around 65, 70 degrees Celsius when it's delivered. And I think that's a very acceptable range. As long as it's within that acceptable range. If I send them a hot coffee at 50 degrees Celsius temperature, probably that's not acceptable. So these are the ways that has helped us to maintain that range and right quality by employing this at several measures. I talked about the back end, I talked about the delivery, and also at the front end when the consumer opens up the bag.
Thank you, Abhijit. That was really descriptive. In fact, your thing resonates with what Dipinder Goyal just did. Zomato, he said that the malls need to be far more sensitive to the delivery partners. They keep them standing outside. So this is a very good initiative. So Amit, over to you. Tell us, as he rightly pointed out, in India, the kilometer is not by just the measurement of distance. So what are the technological improvements required to have the restaurant supply chain completely optimized, especially with such diverse temperatures and,
See, interestingly, today morning only I was having a discussion with a couple of colleagues or who I worked with earlier. They gave a very good suggestion and they're working on it as well. Where, a kitchen display system, when an order is placed by a guest, is displayed at the kitchen, right? But if we can get to know that the driver is still 20 minutes away to reach kitchen, that order automatically using AI goes into hold. So it is not prepared. So it means the order starts getting prepared as he comes closer to the outlet. So the time difference, which would have been lost earlier, and food quality, which would have affected, can be saved. I think that's a brilliant idea. But again, it's a technology, it's an AI, so it comes with its own costs. and learning
And
experience.
challenges.
And learning experience.
Yeah. Actually, I was going to ask Mohit the same question. Tell us about VR and AI in the restaurant business.
So VR and AI is definitely taking off. So Zomato actually started with using VR very recently, actually just 6 months back, and it was pitched to us through them. So what they do is they take over 4 or 5 of your star dishes, and they do a really immersive experience. So for that you don't really need a headset as well. You can just see it on your phone. If you have a headset, I think the experience is much better. We have actually started working with a company that is into the VR space. So what we are doing is we are trying to create a meal in front of you. So if you have a headset with you, you can just pick and choose the dishes, and then the whole meal will be presented to you as a home dining experience from the delivery. The only issue with VR right now, I think, and it doesn't matter if you work with a new VR company or an established VR company, is the cost is very high. So first, the foremost thing is to actually calculate if the ROI is enough for you. So if you're actually going to convert enough directly through your website compared to how much you're going to invest. So the transitions into VR are more product based, is what we've seen. So you can actually create a virtual reality experience on the table. So once you have the headset, once you look on the table, you can actually have all the dishes that you've ordered right in front of you. So it actually helps to give them an idea of what they're going to order, what they're going to get, and it helps to increase sales, is what I believe. But as I said, I think it's still very nascent. It's still in a very pilot stage, and I think ROI calculation is very important. So we had to go through at least 2-3 months of calculation in terms of how much are we going to invest and how much will it help us in expanding our business. And plus, as a commodity in terms of buying those headsets, I think not a lot of people in India have them right now, right? It's not like an iPhone that 10 years back, maybe 5% people have it, and now it's maybe 15-20%. I think VR headsets is not even 2-3%. So the investment is the thing, but I think it's very good, and I think the cost will definitely come down. So I think if someone can enter into it right now, I think it's a good shot for sure.
Shrey, you have something to say about it.
I said, I mean, I wanted to say, ROI is okay, but again, if you look at the branding perspective and the cool quotient attached to the VR, I think that's pretty cool. And we also did it with Zomato. The only thing that helped us was get a little more M2C corrected on our matrices. But I think it's a great initiative that Zomato took, and I think it's cool. I mean, if you talk about a Gen Z and you could see your food, I mean, it's not that bad.
Absolutely. The Gen Z is the new customer, isn't it? Everything cool, whether it's good or bad.
It should look cool.
It should
That's
be cool.
it.
So I have a question for, again, all the panelists, that as you are growing and super fast you're growing, and there are new technologies to come into the place of the older ones, what are the challenges that you're getting? Changing the technology or implementing new things. Are there any challenges, or is it a seamless process? What have your experiences been?
If you talk about Bergrill, a lot of challenges. The biggest challenge for the hospitality industry right now is that we do not have the manpower that we really need. The college seats in across India in the hospitality sector are going down, but the hospitality sector is growing. People are not actually taking hospitality or restaurants as a career choice because they feel they're looking down upon. They would rather open something on their own. But I think we really need good quality people coming into this industry. And maybe a little, and it's our effort too. I mean, ये सिर्फ मेरा नहीं है कि मतलब it as an industry we should be working together to upskill these guys, make sure that more people are coming into this industry. I think that's one of the challenges that we face while we scale our business. And another thing is educating and upskilling our customers as well. So we I think this was 3 or 4 years back when I first saw a self-ordering kiosk. But the point of self-ordering kiosk is not. It's still fixed because there is a man standing with the self-ordering kiosk, educating the customer how to order. Yeah. So I mean, I'm not saying that it will take a little time, but I think we are moving in the right direction. And that's one of the main um, agendas that we need, to educate the employees coming in, we need to educate the customers. And lastly, the only thing that I really feel is data security and privacy. Recently, not naming the restaurant, but data was leaked, and I mean, we need a little more security. We need to be educated more how to handle this technology and make sure that our data is not being flown in the market. Nobody's actually trying to use that data for some their own purposes. So I think these three are the major points that I feel.
Lovely. Mohit, your take?
I think when it comes to expansion, I think one thing that needs to be kept in mind are also raw material cost, and I think that has really gone up in the last 4 years since COVID. So what is happening is that India is, as we know, a price-sensitive market, and competition because of cloud kitchens and QSRs. I think they are fairly easier to enter, even for a new entrepreneur. So I think that keeps the competition as it is. So the price sensitivity does not change. But because of that, you as someone who's running the business, you're always very apprehensive in changing the price also. But raw material cost is something that we need to look at. And in terms of training and education, as he mentioned, I think it becomes very hard sometimes to train and educate your own staff to make them understand what spoilage and wastage is. And I think even if you're able to, while you're expanding, I think that is one part that kind of starts going out of your hands, because you start your control over spoilages, wastages, logistics, sending food to remote locations, not knowing how much to spend and how much are they consuming, doing a variance analysis as to how much yield was produced in the central kitchen and how much consumption should have happened based on your orders. So those things are very important, and having the right people to do it is also very important.
Right. Abhijit, your take on the challenges you've had. Your today is what, 70 outlets?
You're on mute, I guess.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Teams unmute from my side.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So, Nandini, yeah, I mean, to answer your question, we are 71 to be precise at the moment in terms of number of outlets across 3 cities. We have gone through our own changes, right? And one thing when we started Up Coffee almost 2 months back, I think in India, we're still very early in terms of technology adoption when it comes to the industry use case, right? Right from menu planning to menu suggestion to menu visibility, to the point that when a customer comes to the store for takeaway orders, to menu design that a barista partner will quickly share with the customer, right? And this all needs to happen live. So if you compare us with a lot of some other countries around the world, right? I think we are pretty much very early onto that. I mean, there's a deep penetration of technology that F&B companies had to go through. Now, what happened in India uniquely was that technology innovation happened on the aggregator side first. And this is where the aggregators went and led the technology development in F&B, unlike many other countries around the globe, right? And this is why you will not find a lot of F&B companies in India actually self-delivering or actually having their own portal, right? So customer acquisition, aggregators became customer acquisition channels. Now, that's one way to look at it. But to answer your question specifically, we have evolved ourselves. We were a low capex model, right? But then we realized the challenge was, as we grow, we need to have connected digital interfaces, right? So we happened to change when we were almost 40 outlets, right? Today, we have a very intelligent suggestion of data mining within the data that we have, right? Almost tens of thousands of transactions that we do on a daily basis. How those data get mined, how many, and because now 25% of them are through the app that we just launched last month. A lot of these data can actually be mined deeper, which unfortunately until last month we had 40% of the data, we had no visibility because it was with aggregators, right? So we really cannot customize a lot. So I think a lot of this tech also happens on that front. And the third one that we faced challenge was mostly on the demand planning side, right? And I think this is where the largest gap that we identified. We were just 15 or 10 to 12, in the 10 to 15 outlet range, right? We realize many of the times demand planning is not given as the same importance. And this is where a lot of variances on the inventories happen. And that's unfortunately or fortunately is the bread and butter of the business. As you grow in a larger way and as you are in different pin codes. We have, and that took us a couple of months of learning phase. But now that is something we are very clear on. As we go on and scale above 100 outlets, this will be the key factor that will take you from 100 to 1,000, or that will keep you at 100, right? These are the challenges we face. We're very clear how to solve this. And a lot of these, we knew that we had to solve, but obviously we did not have the solution recipe, which now we at least know that what is the way forward to solve. But to summarize, technology has a deep and a long way to go in our industry as an operator, as an F&B operator. And I believe we need to take those steps ourselves rather than relying on technology partners outside if you have to lead the game. Otherwise, we'll be only following and not being a leader in this respect.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Abhijit. I'll close my last question with you, Amit. Tell us in brief that how can data analytics actually help all these challenges with the restaurant industry, and especially with the personal and the tech innovations that they're doing at such rapid scale?
See, the data that we have acquired over a period of time depends, let's say 5 years, you have running a restaurant or chain of restaurant, you will have a lot of data with you. Keeping the data secure is very, very important. And not over India, it is not still there, but the GDPR compliance, which is there in the European market, is soon going to come here, even here in India as well, where at least the personal information about the guest is not visible to anybody unless an authorized person is allowed to do so. But as we say, big data, when you have, the best is to analyze the data. People talk about AI, but I will start with something called as business intelligence application, which is easy to use. You could upload the data using Excel and do real pivoting of your data and see how the trends has been. Why is your sales low between 11 to 1, and may come up with some promotional offers during that time. So having some graphical representation of the data is very much important when it comes to hospitality industry. And when you are setting on such a big data, that's the best usage that you can do to analyze everything.
Fantastic. That was an extremely insightful session. Thank you so much, all the panelists, for joining us. I'll open the floor for question for just one question, because otherwise my host is going to literally kill me. One, you choose.
Hello, I'm Brijesh Dikshit. Since morning, everyone is talking about one common point, which is I think I am running 2-3 restaurants, so I am also facing the same issue. So manpower issue, quality of the manpower, and replenishment of the manpower, and training of the manpower. So this is the, I think, biggest issue for our industry. Rest can be solved, but this, how to go about it, and what is the best way to go about it?
I'll give you my insights, then I think these guys can go on. My insight is, first of all, make sure that everything that you're doing is jotted down on a paper. Very, starting from the basics. Everything is jotted down, your processes, everything, small. And maybe look at each process as a different topic altogether and start with something immediately. Do not procrastinate it. You need to start it right away. I did it for 3 years, and now I feel I wish I had done it, 3 years back. I would be sitting at a very good position. Within starting of 6 months, I've seen a change in the employee motivation, turnover. Everything is now moving, and everything is coming into the same aspiration that we want to. Building a culture inside the restaurants, which is like the best thing that we're doing right now. So I think starting the training, no matter what, how you start it, छोटे से start कर लो, Google Meet पे कर लो, एक बार बुला लो, उनको चाय समोसे खिला के एक बार प्यार से समझाओ कि भाई ये 6 चीजें हैं जो तुमने करनी है, उसका एक ऐप में डाल के, या find a checkpoint thing. Start doing it one by one. But because I didn't know how to start. मेरे को नहीं समझ आ रहा था. It took me like 3 years to understand. यार मैं इसकी ट्रेनिंग दूंगा या इसकी दूंगा या इसकी दूंगा, वो मैं हो ही नहीं पाया. लेकिन करना है तो सबसे पहले जो सबसे आसान है ना, वो शुरू कर लो.
I would say for us is it's important to show the person the journey that he will have with you. So if, say, someone is joining as an associate or as a waiter, so he needs to understand that his journey can reach becoming a restaurant manager, even if it happens in 7 years, 8 years, or 10 years. Because for us as a restaurant or a cloud kitchen, we always look at it as a cost of rehiring. So we always feel that the cost of rehiring is always higher than retaining the same person, even if it is a 15-20% hike on what he's getting, and giving him the next position. Because then, first of all, he's motivated and he helps you to retain other people around him. He helps you to have that seamless process with new people coming in and training themselves. So for us, it's more important that the person resonates with the journey that he will have in your organization, and he needs to believe that he can reach there. So then he'll stay with you for a long period of time. And during that process, if you're able to do the trainings that he mentioned, if you're able to groom him to the level that he wants to achieve and you want to put him to, so I think then you'll be able to retain and you'll be able to keep the manpower cost also very low.